I'm trying to come to terms with what's happened over this last week, because I can't tell you how angry I am. I'm so angry. I don't know, I feel like kicking the furniture or something. I've had lots of letters, emails from constituents since the announcement on the disability cuts, and you could weep at some of them. You could absolutely weep. I'll just give you a flavour of one that came in today. There's a woman who she says, I've been on PIP for around 18 years when it was DLA. It's because of my health issues, but my health has deteriorated. How can they justify taking away the support I have? I'm sick. I don't have an individual 4 points on a particular activity, so that means under the new rules she won't get PIP. And this is what upsets me really. What she says is, I'm very scared and anxious person. I'm getting so many emails like that. People are terrified what's going to happen to them. I've got people who've got all sorts of physical conditions and also mental health conditions. I've got people who are neurodiverse with a range of challenges in their life where they just need support. They just need support. They just need some help to get by. And what's happening is that the government is going to kick that help away. And I can't tell you how distressing it is to talk to some of the people affected. You'll know them. You deal with them. They'll be members of your family. And I was saying at the weekend in one interview, I said to someone, asked me about, I think it was LBC, I think it was. And I said, look, if you close your eyes and I'll read out some policies that the government has introduced. They've cut the winter fuel payment to pensioners. They've refused to lift 500,000 children out of poverty by scrapping the 2-child limit. They've cut overseas aid that goes to people actually starving in the global south. And now they're taking £5 billion worth of cuts out of disabled people. So if you close your eyes and then you listen to those policies, you wouldn't believe it's a Labour government that's been elected. You just wouldn't believe it. This isn't what Labour stands for. It's not what the Labour Party was founded for. It's not what any Labour government has ever done in the past. We fought for 14 years to get rid of the Tories because of their implementation of austerity. This is austerity. It's back. And I keep saying to colleagues here, the party will be branded, and every individual MP and every party member who supports this will be branded as people who are inflicting austerity on our people. And I can't understand the logic of it. All right, the economy is not growing fast enough. And Martin will tell you that we've done various reports about how you invest in the economy, but actually it takes time for that investment to pay off. And that what you do is in that investment will eventually grow the economy. But the best thing to do is always put money in people's pockets so they can spend. It increases demand, and that's how you actually grow the economy quickly. It's just basic economics. That's why I don't understand why they don't understand this now. So what they've decided, just like the Tories, if the economy isn't growing fast enough and they're not getting the scale of the tax revenues they want, instead of putting money in people's pockets so they can spend and the economy demand grows and then they get the taxation, they've got a choice. They either, if it's not growing fast enough, they either increase taxation or borrow some more, or they make cuts, austerity. And I never thought I'd see the day when a newly elected Labour government in particular would go down the path of savage cuts. And I'm shocked. We've been arguing from the union. The PCA parliamentary group was set up years ago by the union, so we have a voice in Parliament. So what we've been doing as a group for some time now is to say there is an alternative to all this. And many of your speakers, Kim and others, have said it eloquently, really. You don't have to cut, not when you've got the vast wealth in this country that we've got. All you have to do is introduce a fair taxation system. So everybody Everybody pays their way and shoulders the burden of what we need. And the argument that Keir Starmer said, the broadest shoulders should shoulder the heaviest burden. And I fully agree with that. But that's not what the government's doing. So what we've been advocating as a union says, look, all you have to do now is introduce the fair taxation programme, which is, people have mentioned it, increasing capital gains tax, the money that people get from business interests and the dividends, to the level of income tax, just level it out so it's all equal, we're all equal. One of the ideas was introduce a sort of capital gains tax, because the City of London, the financial services are booming at the moment. Do you know the bankers' bonuses are at record levels this year? So they're making a fortune. So just introduce what we call a financial transaction tax. It's called the Robin Hood tax. It's a small adjustment to stamp duty on share taxation. That's all. And then others have said, a group called the Patriotic Millionaires have come together and they've said, you should tax us more. Just introduce a relatively light 2% wealth tax. And that all of those would bring in the money, and you wouldn't have to have any cuts in benefits whatsoever. In fact, you'd be able to improve them, you'd be able to increase them. But the government's refused that. So I've said to them also, we've said, if you don't believe in taxation, well, one thing you could help us with is you could start introducing some controls, rent controls, controlling energy prices, and then also actually reviewing what's happening with regard to food, because there's all the evidence there is now is that food prices being forced up by what we call gouging. It's profiteering, basically. So all of those solutions, they're readily available, but the government's not willing to take them. We'll see what happens on Wednesday when the Chancellor gets up and makes a spring statement. But I want to make everyone absolutely clear, and I've said this to the government and I've said it to ministers, I want them absolutely clear. If they don't go down the route of creating a fairer society, that means having a fairer taxation system to pay for the services we need, which in effect in itself will help in growing the economy as we need it, and they go along the line of austerity and cuts, I won't be voting for it. I've made it clear. I doubt if any member of the PCS parliamentary group will want to vote for it. And it won't be just a matter of voting in Parliament. I'll be on every demonstration, every picket line, every direct action that will be taking place by disabled people, trade unionists and groups that are being impacted by this, because I'm not going to sit back. I'm not going to sit back while I'm receiving emails, as I say, that from desperate people that are so distressing that it gets across to you that these benefit cuts could destroy people's lives. We, as a union, we were raising in Parliament for a number of years that the government should monitor the impact of what the Tories were doing then in terms of cutting benefits to people, particularly people with disabilities. And they refused to. But we discovered actually secretly there was some monitoring going on, but they wouldn't publish the reports. Then eventually we got the reports published and we discovered there were 600 people who basically took their lives as a result of the actions of cutting their benefits. And I'll always remember the young man up in Leith in Scotland who never left a suicide note. He simply laid beside him the letter he received cutting his benefit, and he couldn't cope anymore. I'm not going to stand by and allow a Labour government to reintroduce that. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to fight all I can. And I know everyone listening to this will feel the same way. We've got to stop this. We've got to end austerity.